Hello, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Promise you guys that I will be back today, and I'm back. We're ready for another show. I'm so excited to be coming live to you again. Those of you who are locked in on Facebook, welcome to the show. Those of you on RAYASTA Foundation, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. The folks on Jael Joseph Live, those of you who are locked on my regular page, those of you who are on YouTube, good evening. If you're locked in on LinkedIn, welcome to the show. I know my head a little tired. It's that time of year again, I'm a die-hard culture gal. And it is independence season. It's a season of independence, at least in Dominica. And obviously I represent for my home. This is where I was born. And, I switch it up every now and again, your girl know how to tie a head tie, you know how to tie a head strap, I can give you some lessons. But anyways, it is a beautiful Tuesday evening, and probably morning somewhere too, right? So it's morning somewhere, yeah, right, Sandra. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining. Hi. Let's make sure I can see you all clearly. Welcome to the show. We have a wonderful show here for you today. This has taken a lot of courage. Force avec courage aujourd'hui. Oui. I don't know if my guests can speak Creole. I'm not going to put them to the test because those rules of people, sometimes they can't speak Creole. Of course, they don't know how to speak Creole. But I am happy to be here with you guys, joining you. Hi, Evelyn. Welcome. Share the live as soon as you guys join on. Share the live. I'm so happy to be joining you this evening for another show. We're going to be talking. We're going to be doing more of these. So I wanna let you know in advance, so that you prepare yourselves to come on here for, content that is not just entertaining, but educational, informative, the content that you want to make, the right decisions for your life, for your health. We're going to try and, keep it very, very light, but still serious, right? And today, I have two amazing women coming on with me. I swear, Sissy, here's Sissy's home. This is her home now, eh? She's been on here at least 3 times. This is the 3rd time. This is her home, all right? That is her home. She know how to log in. I bet I just give her the show, right? So Cecilia is going to be joining us, and Auntie Jennifer Esteban is also going to be joining us. We're going to be talking about the RAYASTA Foundation in just a little bit. So I just want to shout out the folks who are joining on. Good evening, welcome. Thank you very much, guys, for coming on. Share the live. Thank you, Sandra. Sandra says she loved my head wrap. Thank you. I typed myself, eh? Girl got skills with a Z. So I don't want to waste the time. I just want to get on with the show. I want to be able to spend most of the time speaking. We have lots to discuss. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, guys. Y'all on my case now. I don't want to get stroke, so I'm making sure I lose the weight. I look on flick. Okay? Right? I don't want to get stroke. And y'all should do the same. Let's lose the weight together. I'm on a journey. Thank you very much, my darling. Thank you for all of the compliments. Thank you, all those of you who are on. Let's get this show on the road. Let's get started. Like I promised you guys, I have 2 very, very interesting guests joining me. I am just trying to close off some of the stuff that I have open because people are trying to interrupt me, and I want this to be just all about us. So this is all about us right about now. So let's welcome to the show for the 3rd time. It's her home, her show. Cecilia, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm back. I'm home.
You're home.
Yeah.
You're home. Welcome back.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Happy
Good.
Tuesday.
Thank you for having us.
Happy Tuesday to you.
And to you too.
I love your plants in the back. Are they real?
Yes.
Trust you to have real plants. Meanwhile, I get rocking my fake plants.
Lots of bush everywhere.
Lots of bush. It's good to have you on. And I want to welcome to Jennifer Astefan. Hello.
Hello, hi Jael.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm wonderful.
Good. It's good to have you on.
Thank you.
I said when you came on earlier, you look bright eyed and bushy tail.
And yeah, I am.
All right, that's fantastic. That's
I am.
fantastic.
I've just
So,
come back from a wonderful pilgrimage in Medjugorje, so I'm still on top of the world. Yeah,
really,
place of peace,
where is that Mentigori? Where is that?
Medjugorje. That's in Bosnia. So
Jigbozi.
I tell you, a far place.
She went on a pilgrimage.
A pilgrimage.
Yes,
What was that like?
awesome, out of this world. You can't explain it.
What was the highlight or one of the highlights of the entire trip?
Going to Croatia, I think, was one. Yeah, was part of the tour. Yeah.
That is a
And I
love.
wouldn't want to tell you it's going to Dubrovnik where they filmed Game of Thrones.
You just trying to rub it in, right?
Yeah,
You just rubbing it in.
I know.
That's fantastic. You look well. You
Thank
look
you.
you look rested, and it's so lovely to have you on. Here is Cece's home, so we're not even stressing too much on how Cece looking. It's her home. I'm surprised she didn't tie her hair too, because her home would do
About it. Next time. Next time.
next time. So we're here to talk about the Ray Astor Foundation, and I wanna just welcome all the folks who are coming in. Lots of folks are coming in, and just make sure you guys share the live as soon as you jump on. And I want to first of all start by asking you both to introduce yourselves in terms of the role that you play, where Ray Astor Foundation is concerned, and then we'll kind of get into a little bit about why the foundation was created and so on and so forth. So I will let Auntie Jen go first. So tell us a little bit about the Ray Astor Foundation.
So I'm the chairman of the foundation, and
Mhm,
it was established in memory of my son Raymond.
mhm.
You know very well what happened, but his dream, having done neuroscience, was all about the brain and wanting to do neurology. So that is why we focused on stroke and stroke care. We know that the incidence is very high in Dominica. We know that hypertension is also very high. So we're hoping in his absence and in his presence, in his memory, we can help to make a difference in terms of the incidence of strokes in Dominica by one, educating the public and helping with training and other interventions as we go along in the future.
Okay, thank you for that, Auntie Jen. And Cece, tell us about your role as it relates to the Ray Astor Foundation. We know you wear many hats, but
I know, right? Well, Jennifer's children, Raymond and Neil, were really, really very close to my children, and my kids grew up in her household, and her kids grew up in my household. So after the hurricane, I decided to come back. I had started transitioning back to Dominica, and then the tragedy occurred, and Jen asked me if I would be the CEO to help her do the work of the Ray Astor Foundation. So, of course, I was thrilled, you know, and I'm honored to be there for her and with her on this journey for Raymond.
okay. So I just want to kind of, because we know who Raymond is, but the audience might not know who Raymond is or who Raymond was. And I kind of just want to kind of go back, a little bit. I think something must have happened, and Auntie Jen dropped off. So we'll just wait for her to jump back on. You there still, Cece?
I
Oh,
am.
yeah, okay. We lost you for a second, but you're
Yeah,
back.
I wondered what happened.
Yeah. It might have been a glitch in the internet. The internet be interneting. That's okay, man.
Okay.
So I was just saying, we all know who Raymond was. I but I kind of want to get the viewers to understand who he is or who he was, and why it was so important for you to do what you did in terms of establishing a foundation in his name. And I will talk because I know it's very difficult because I feel like this is something that I've had to get off my chest for many years, and it's a difficult thing to talk about. But I've shared this with Cece, but I met Raymond years ago through Sean Astafan. Many years ago. It was in the 90s, like 99, I think it was 98, 99 thereabout. And as he introduced as his cousin, and later on I met him again when he moved to Canada and Centennial College. I lived just down the street from where he is, and Sean told me, that Raymond is around, and check him, Irie, if all you have food, if all you cook, that was exactly what he said. And Raymond wanted his hair. He was just in the process of locks in his hair, like doing his lock, and I was the one that would twist his locks for him. Every 3 weeks he came, and I tell him, don't give me money. He'd bring me turtles because he knew I loved turtles. Those were my favorite chocolates. And he brought me turtles. And I mean, since he completed the mechanic course he was doing. And then I remember, I mean, he never lost touch. There was a gang of us that would hang out together. They would always have, he lived with Jovan and Jabari, and they would have like little house parties, and they'd always tell me about it. Fast forward, he decided that he was going into medicine, and I was like, but Raymond, like from mechanic to medicine, like I don't understand in that transition. And he's like, I always wanted to do that. That's something that I always wanted to do. And in between that time and him attending med school, I moved back to Dominica. And I remember Raymond was at Carlos University, and I had my spa in Portsmouth. Like we just kept like meeting at different times, right? And Raymond would tell me, don't worry, all the little chicks are gonna send them by you. And let me tell you, all the little chicks came by me.
He
Do
was
their
sending you customers, man.
listen. Raymond was sending me customers. Raymond used to bring some of them. Raymond used to bring customers to me, and he was living at Silver Apartments. And a couple times, they would come and he would say he walking back, and I was like, I'll drop you, because I'm ending the day, going to head back. I'll drop him off and stuff, and we would talk and talk about our days in Canada and talk about what he was gonna do. The very last time I saw Raymond, Raymond had like his bike, and Raymond had a bike that the light decided it wasn't working, and called me. He's like, "You going down tonight now?" I said, because sometimes I would stay in Portsmouth. I said, "Yeah, I'm going down." He said, "Boy, I need a favor. You think I can drive in front of you?" I said, "Oh, He said, "Adala, it's on the bike, and I want to bring it down for me to work on it." And I said, "Of course." And I drove from Portsmouth to Roseau with Raymond on the bike in front, and
With
I
no
give him
lights.
with no lights,
Oh my God.
with no lights, right? And I mean, that was the kind of person he was. He was just a funny person. I remember when he cut off his locks. I was like, "Oh my God, you cut! We take so much good care of that." He's like, "Good, I'm gonna be a doctor." It's like, I was just so excited for him, and he was in his the final leg, the final leg of it, and tragedy struck, and it impacted, I know, a lot of people. I know a lot of his friends it impacted their life. And it was just so sad, to hear. I remember that was the very first time I was attending a funeral since the passing of my parents. And I couldn't enter in the church. I stayed in the car and I was just crying the entire time. I couldn't go in the church. I went out for a little bit. Jovan was there, and I just could not. He's like, I understand, you can't, I just can't come in the church. I felt I needed to be there, but at the same time, it was just a lot for me, and I know that this foundation was established, or was born out of a really, really highlighting what Raymond wanted to do. Um, Auntie Jen, do you think you can share with us, a little bit of Raymond's story and how his passing really inspired you specifically to create this foundation?
Well, Raymond's story, I think, is a unique story. Like you said, he touched so many lives because there are people who are still in touch with me because of him all over the world, as far as Romania. Um, it's just amazing that his friendships were each one unique. It was as if you were his only friend and nobody else. That's the kind of person he was. And for me, what inspired me to do this too was he used to say, Mommy, I don't understand why there's so much mediocrity in Dominica. Why do we have to do things at that level? But at the same time, he was a person who would look at you across a room and you could share a joke because he was hearing something that you were hearing. And he would laugh, and you would laugh at the same joke. He had that way of just connecting a joke about, whatever. Um, he was a child who called me every day. So, he was just every day. And that very night, his last call to me was just maybe half an hour before it happened because he didn't like to speak on the phone while he was driving. So I said, okay, we'll talk tomorrow. Um, but I'm now beginning to feel a certain level of, it never goes, the pain and the emptiness never goes, but I feel like Sissy says, he's looking and saying, okay, so you're not forgetting me, and don't ever forget that I ever lived, existed, and what I wanted to do, because he had so many plans. And like you say, he had very early in the medicine, I used to say, well, you had his diagnostic skills as a mechanic were on point. And I remember one day we were in an apartment in Miami with somebody. He was like maybe just 2 semesters into his program, and she was complaining of certain things. And he sat, he listened, and he said, and he told her what he thought. And the next day she went to her doctor, and it was exactly what he had diagnosed. He had a way of listening, and he had an acute sense of people that I really just never want his legacy. And I think that he was here for a purpose. And if this is a purpose that can save one life, it will be an impact on this small island. And this is what we're hoping, that eventually the protocols in the accident and emergency will be so embedded in the mind of everybody that it will not be the situation where somebody comes and says, I am feeling this, like the symptoms in fast, and they say, well, it's okay, go home and rest and take 2 Panadol, and 2 hours later they come back with a stroke. This is what we want to happen, that
Mhm.
every health worker, everybody who has relatives who are hypertensive will always be alert to what is likely to be an impending stroke.
Mhm.
Because you know how debilitating a stroke can be to a family, to a major breadwinner in a family. And sometimes we have the tendency, we have to just lie on a bed and leave you there to rot without any rehabilitation. So we're hoping we can change the mindset on strokes and how people are treated when they have strokes at home.
Thank you for sharing this, and thank you for being so brave and so open, with how you felt about your son, and as well as his impact, while he lived. The foundation obviously focuses on raising awareness about stroke and heart health. And I could ask you why you chose that, but you've kind of said to us that was where he was leading. But what do you believe are some of the most pressing issues when it comes to public education in Dominica, especially as it relates to heart health?
I I'm not sure because I guess everywhere, public education, especially health education, is something that people have to keep hearing all the time. It is not a start or stop issue. And
Mhm.
that is why the collaboration with different organizations is important, because we may say something today and the Heart Association says it tomorrow and somebody else says it a day after. And that is how important collaboration is. But people have to hear it all the time. They
Mhm.
have to hear it, because even with hearing it all the time, we're still hearing of people who have impending strokes and are told it's okay, go home and rest, or people just don't pay any attention until they really collapse and are in a way that an intervention may be too late.
Thank you, Auntie Jen. Cece, I know you. This is something that you came on board, and I kind of want you to kind of just expand a little bit more on what, because I know we spoke a little bit, and some of the things that you raised were very alarming to me, even me as a Dominican, not really like hearing the amount of people who pass, and it's not just in Dominica, that happens like a lot of places, especially in the islands, especially in the Caribbean, and especially with men. And it's so alarming to know the stats, like, and these are stats that you can literally just count on your hand. You don't even need somebody to say I've done a research study. You can look at the community and identify people who've just suddenly had a stroke, and you're like, but I just see the person was just only like I just passed that person, like, and this is the kind of conversation that I had with you, and I was so surprised to learn that the stats are what they are. Can you share a little bit of that with us, Susie?
Yeah, I didn't realize the stats were what they are until I got involved in the RAYASTA Foundation. And so one of the first things I did before we even kicked off the foundation is to really learn a little bit about strokes and try to get some data from the hospital and the health centers on what is the situation. And we found that there were somewhere between 6 to 7 strokes. Imagine that, per week. And those are
A
the
week.
ones that, per week. That's how alarming this is. And in a place like Dominica, you can well imagine that there's 6 to 7 strokes per week. And what happens to the lives of these people if you count 7 times 52 weeks in a year? That's the number of people that are home, probably partially paralyzed, without sufficient services for them to be able to recover fully. And the other thing that's more alarming is in the research that I did is that those were the emergency room statistics. Sometimes someone comes to the emergency room, they present stroke symptoms or not so clearly delineated stroke symptoms. So they are admitted on the ward, and then they get to the ward, and then later on it's diagnosed as a stroke. So when you take the emergency room statistics, and if you calculate what happened when you get to the ward where it was missed as a diagnosis, you're looking at a much higher number.
Wow.
And for me, I didn't realize that it was that severe in Dominica. And so I don't know what um, inspired Jen to think of strokes, but she's my mentor, of course, and she really hit on something like just zoomed in on a real threat to mankind in Dominica, and to be doing it in Raymond's name and memory and his legacy is really even more important because he didn't get to be a doctor, but we are trying to spread the word so he still has an impact on lives.
I mean, this is so like the work, the data. First of all, is crazy to learn that it's 7 to 8 a week. Um, and this is just, I'm sure this is just emergency, like being in the emergency room. I mean, compared to what probably happens outside of the emergency room, right? I found, as somebody who also I read a lot, I'm very inquisitive. I was so surprised. I mean, I know about strokes. Like you hear, oh, so and so get a stroke, but it never really like hit me the way it did when you like when you expressed, the numbers, and when you said, like there are ways in which you can actually. I honestly didn't know anything about even what some of the things that you look for, you know, and instantly, I remember saying to my partner, "Yo, like you need to check this, like you need to check your salt, and like I've become annoying, I'm sure, to him, just because now I am absorbing so much of information as it relates to the foundation, and even preparing myself for interviews like this, or or in the future, and understanding that there are simple ways that you can monitor yourself or monitor each other and family members, and that is like a really easiest way to start, right? Is just the fast way, you know, um, which is it's a fast way, but it can happen very quickly too, in terms of yeah. Go ahead, CC.
And there are symptoms, right? There are symptoms. There is a B fast. There's symptoms where we want to be able to let the public know that there are these symptoms, and you will tend to feel these symptoms way before you actually have a stroke. So people have to be conscious of what these symptoms are so that they can get early intervention. We are on an island, we have limited medical facilities, limited medical emergency facilities, and so the best thing we can do for ourselves is to be conscious of the signals in our body and listen to what our body is saying to us.
Yes. What would you say as some of the key milestones or even successes of the Ray Astor Foundation since its actual inception, and how do you think this has probably impacted the communities that you serve?
Well, we've done a couple of really good things. One of the first things we did was we donated an entire laboratory to the SMA, which is where Raymond went to school. And it was a full science lab. So we thought that, well, let's start with the young people to impact their minds. And so that when they are exposed to science training, they have the tools to do so. So the Ray Astor Foundation spent somewhere around $60,000 in really providing a state of the art laboratory for the SMA students. Um, and we've also pledged to support all of the schools that Raymond has gone to in pursuit of science, excellence in science. So if it's science related, we will generally support the schools. But one of the most important initiatives I think we've done is that when we began the Ray Astor Foundation and we started doing the research about stroke, we found that many people were home and required home health care. And then we found that most of the people that were working in these environments, assisting with home health care, they had been trained in geriatrics training, which is geriatrics is the skill of assisting people as they age.
Mhm.
And when you're getting older, your caretaker needs to help feed you, to help bathe you, to help express what you'd like to do, to cook for you, and all of those types of things. When you've had a stroke, age is not necessarily a factor. Anyone can have a stroke at any age, depending on their health circumstances. So the healthcare that the caregiving that you give to a stroke patient is quite different to that of an older person, because after you've suffered from a stroke, you have brain damage, and that's what causes the paralysis. And the caretaker must be trained to help you rewire the brain to remember some of the things that you would have forgotten during the stroke event. So instead of feeding you, they have to teach you to feed yourself again. Instead of pushing you around on a wheelchair, it's very important that they encourage you to get up and practice walking again, practice exercising again, getting in the kitchen, starting off with a simple thing as making a cup of tea, you know, and very simple things, helping yourself in the bathroom. So it's different. So what we did was, the RAYASTA Foundation funded this, is we developed two curriculums. We developed a curriculum and a training manual for what we call level one caregiver, and we did a supervisor's caregiver curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
This curriculum manual was developed, which we funded, and it was tested, and it was sent out to friends of Ray Asta Foundation in university settings to be vetted. And so it is a really, really sound training program. And what we started doing was we started a training program of these caregivers. The first training program was done last year, and we trained some 30 or so, 32, 35 trainees that are now out in the community working with patients. And we recently did another one where, I'm sorry, the first one was maybe 15, 20. And we recently did another one this year, and the response was overwhelming to the point where it became sold out, where we
Wow.
had 35, 35, 37 people. So now we have somewhere around um, close to 60, 65, 70 individuals that have been trained in level one that can provide um, skilled caregiver care to stroke patients. And we're in the process of the second curriculum that we developed was for the supervisors. So we're in the process of developing the pilot, where we will take the best of the 60 and put them through the supervisors training so that we will continue to enhance their skills in terms of how they do what they do for the patients.
Wow. That sounds really good. Obviously, in addition to that, you spread constant information, especially on social media, as it relates to some of the things that you should pay attention to, some of the things that you can do when you get a stroke. There's so many videos that I've seen you guys sharing, information with doctors, and hopefully over the next a couple of months we can get these doctors and these past folks who fell victim to a stroke, I can say, because and get them to share their experience, even rehabilitation. Because I used to think that when once you get a stroke, that's the end, because you think to yourself, oh my god, like, this person is paralyzed, they cannot move, they cannot, one side is probably not able to function on one side of their body. And in speaking and obviously in researching a little bit more around, like, you can become active again, you can go back to your
Oh,
to
absolutely. You can have a recovery.
right. So
Yeah.
it's definitely not the end, like sometimes you're made to believe that it's the end, because when you hear somebody get a stroke, the first thing you think is, oh my god, they're close to death. That is like the end of it, the end of the rope for them. But there is rehabilitation, there is proper care that can be given to them, to people, and they can live full lives again. And that gives me hope, just knowing that. And I really appreciate the fact that, this foundation is doing that, because we have a very large aging population. And like you rightfully say, that it can happen to anybody. But, I feel, I get a sense that a lot of the aging population would be more, you know, possibly more prone, or and sometimes, especially men, they don't pay attention to their health. They don't pay attention to, they have a pain and they don't pay attention to it. They have issues, the vision issues, they don't want to go doctor. There's so many reasons, why men especially, decide, hey, we're not. You find women going to see their family doctor probably 10 times more than men would, and it's so important. I mean, those of you who are on the live, I want you guys to really tag a man, tag a friend, especially the men, tag somebody that, that, especially people who exert themselves a lot. They have really heavy jobs, they're probably the main breadwinner in their homes. Stress is something that induces that, right? So you have to also pay attention to those things.
But Jen, we know that, well, apparently, a lot of the men who are hypertensive complain about taking medication. So you know that's often they stop taking their medication because they have their own concerns. That
Well,
may
we can say what the concerns are. Because I feel like there needs to be a shock value, to a shock aspect to it, so they understand that stopping your medication because your PPE does not work anymore is not going to work out well for you in the end. You might not even be able to use the PP after the fact, right? If you get a stroke. So it's so important to take your medication, you know uh, like this is, yes, Cece.
A big part of the problem is compliance. Nobody's taking the meds, you know, they're not taking their meds. Or they're into bush. They're into bush tea, and the bush is unregulated. We don't know about the doses. We don't know, it might help this or not help that. And I'm not against it. I think that there are certain um, herbs that have medicinal properties, and they definitely should be used and encouraged to be used, but they can't stand alone.
and
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 if you,
they're also and they can also cause contraindications depending on the herbs that you take. So you might be taking a bush, but it might actually have a negative effect on you because you have a situation already, a pre-existing condition, right? So that's a valid point.
but the intervention as well, Jill, and not to depends on how quickly your rehabilitation takes place.
Hmm.
And even in developed countries, so for example, I have two brothers, one in Germany, one who was in New York. Both had very bad strokes.
Wow.
The one in New York, rehabilitation didn't start until after a week or more. The
Wow.
one in Germany, within 48 hours, he was in a rehabilitation center. He's fully rehabilitated. He can drive back and forth to London. He's fully rehabilitated, but not the one in New York. Because the timeliness of rehabilitation, which is another factor here, is something that is important. So within 48 hours, if your rehabilitation doesn't start, and this is something that relatives need to impress even on their loved ones. So you visit somebody, even if they're in hospital and had a stroke, their rehabilitation needs to start as quickly as possible. You get up, sit on the side of the bed, sit in a chair, begin to move the legs, do something with them. So that is another factor that contributes to persons just totally losing all forms of mobility and other things like that. So that is where the caregiver training is really critical, because the caregivers are generally relatives or paid paid help, but it's important that people know what to do and how to.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because in a situation where you have somebody, a caregiver, let's say looking after your elderly parent who may have had a stroke, the day to day does not, it changes. The day to day does not remain the same. It has to change in terms of now incorporating the rehabilitation skills into the day to day. How, even how to like help them off the bed, and how to lay, and how to sit on chair, how to not strain yourself even as a caregiver, because you might be, boy, Mister get heavy all of a sudden, you it might get, because you're trying to take all your force to lift up the person off the bed, when there are ways that you can actually help the person up without hurting yourself, right? So all of these things, and I'm excited for the next couple of months, because I'm excited to learn as well, and I hope the audience is, as well, they're ready to learn. I know a lot of women follow my show, so I want to encourage them to share the information with their men, because we see men at the, somebody just said some men are embarrassed to even go to the pharmacy to buy their meds, it's just, they just scared, they just feel like, oh, if I go, they're going to know that I cannot, my thing not working like it used to, and there's this paranoia that comes with it,
For sure.
and not just paranoia, but embarrassment, that they feel like they've lost their manhood, and we definitely want to educate men and women on, some of the causes, some of the strategies that can be used, and over the next couple of months, I know we'll be bringing in the experts. I mean, you guys are behind this, because this is something, and Jen, your heart, it's a way for you to continue the legacy of your son. Obviously, Cece, you have a deep love for research, a deep care for people, and you're seeing, the negative impacts that the lack of education is what it's doing to our people, and we want to obviously change that. Auntie Jen, I know that this came from your own personal loss, and has become a public mission. What has this journey, in terms of establishing this foundation and doing this work, what has it been, has this journey been like for you emotionally, and how do you face, or how do you keep going in the face of challenges, even the challenge of losing a child, you know
Well, like I said, I did this because when Raymond went to University of Toronto after and he did neuroscience, he became absolutely fascinated with the brain. And then he said, I really don't want to do neurosurgery. I want to do neurology because it's shorter. And so with neurology, there are other things we could have focused on, like Parkinson's, for example, is another brain disease that we could have picked up on. But the problem of strokes really came to the fore because we saw that there was a problem. And during the period that I was chairman of the hospital board, we realized that there was a problem with that. Um, Carrying on that legacy in his memory is just absolutely important to me. It has been a painful journey until now. I would not have been able to come on the show and talk like this. Sissy knows that full well. I mean, it used to be very painful. I couldn't, but I knew that I had to honor his memory, that he was here for a purpose. And if this is the purpose that he was here for, then I have to fulfill that purpose, and the generations beyond me have to fulfill, because generally a foundation is in infinite, really, it's in perpetuity. It has to continue. Its
hmm
and its mission only has to grow. Eventually, what I would love to see is that we have full rehabilitation facilities set up here so that stroke patients have a special unit that they can be admitted to, a special rehabilitation team, and somewhere that they can go to with a neurologist on staff who can deal with whether it's a clot, whether it's a bleed, and have that kind of intervention. With the way medicine and science is going, I mean, these are things eventually that you'll be able to do across computers and across boundaries. We don't know in another 5 years, we don't know what we'll see, but that is my hope that we'll be able to have those rehabilitation interventions here, and it will, be in his memory that he will be happy to know. Well, that's what I would have done myself if I was here.
Wow,
I
that's
think
beautiful.
he would have wanted to take neurology if he was here.
Wow, Sissy, what are some of the long term goals for Ray Asta Foundation? And if you could share with us also, how can people get involved in supporting the cause and even in spreading awareness?
Well, the long-term goals are well, the short we have short-term as well as long-term goals. Our short-term goals in the first instance is to continue with the training, which is very important, and with the advocacy, like what we're doing here tonight, to bring awareness to people about you know lifestyle changes that they can make, as well as some of the things related to stroke and exercise and rehabilitation. Um, Short-term as well. While there is a foundation in Raymond's name, there is always a need for nonprofits to be able to raise funds and to create some kind of self sufficiency.
Hmm.
So, donations are always, always welcome. Anyone can go to www.rayasafoundation.org and you will see all about our work. You will see a gallery about Raymond, and you will find a donate button. And one of the important things on the site that we developed is that we developed a group of tools that people with stroke can use. So we have some large grip utensils. When you have a stroke, you're shaky. And so being able to grab your fork and eat is important. So if you
Hmm.
go on the page, you will find some of these things there. That if you have someone who suffered a stroke, you can actually buy some of this. Well, not buy, you can request for the Ray Astor Foundation to send this to you, and we can ship this to anywhere in the world in exchange for a donation. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
And sometime early next year, we're going to do our first Ray Astor Health Fair, and we're still in the process of developing the idea. Of course, you know me, Jael. When I do things, I don't do things simple, right? It
And
cannot
you
be.
like to do them big,
It can.
Vary and
It can.
Lako.
Yes. It it cannot be simple. So everybody does a walk. Great. We'll do a walk. We'll do a walk. We'll gather people. I would like it to end at the beach where we have the sports people involved and we do some volleyball. We do some soccer. We do a little bit of sports competition. We will have some spa people. You can get a massage. We can have some nutritionists there and we can do a little bit of feeding food. Neil, Raymond's brother, is very bent on introducing meal plans and teaching people how to eat and cook healthy. So we might do a little watto. Um, so we don't know where we're going to go with it, but we want a good, nice, long run to plan it well. And we want it to be an all inclusive, full day programming, where we've thought about it all along the way so that it really is something that would be memorable
Hmm.
and impactful. So
Hmm.
that's going to be right after Krill Festival. We're going to start planning this and we're going to try to roll it out. Um, I have to sit and we have to figure it out, but we need to roll it out before the kids go on summer vacation because it's very quiet in the summer here in Dominica,
It is.
before the rainy season when
Hmm.
it's not too hot.
Hmm.
So we have to do
Timing is
something.
everything.
Yeah, but we need a good 6 months run to start it and launch it and market it and promote it so that it's successful. If we can't have that lead, we're not doing it. No, because it has to be grand.
It has to be an extravaganza.
Yeah,
um, I
and
just want to go to the
it's
chat.
health related. Yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Say that. I missed that.
it will be all health related.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
Definitely.
we
So
will
for
have professionals that will do blood pressure checks and diabetes check. Diabetes is a leading cause of a lot of things that lead to strokes too. So There's lots of things we can do, and we're putting out a call. We're putting out a call to all our listeners in the diaspora, and particularly those in Dominica that are in the private sector or individuals that care about health or retired nurses. Come to us, join us. Let's create a committee of sports people, health people, medical professionals, for us to plan something that's highly, highly impactful so that it can be an annual event.
Yes, I'm looking forward to this, and I'm really looking forward. I just want to just go to the chat a little bit, so Ari is saying great program. Thanks for your dedication. So folks are coming on. I've just pinned the website. So if you would like to go on and like Cece spoke about, in terms of purchasing any of the items, well, getting any of the items and sending in a donation, you can do so. And if you want to support the initiative, you of course can do so. I just want to really commend you guys on doing this. I mean, honestly, I would not have thought to do a stroke foundation. Like if I had somebody said to me, Jael, do a foundation, I probably would do something to do with needy or probably kids or something. But it's so important the work that you're doing because it affects everybody. It affects not just one group. It affects every single person because imagine your dad has a stroke as a child, the more pressure on the mom, more pressure on the children. Imagine not knowing what to do. Imagine having an elderly person in the home and the caregiver doesn't know what to do, or having a caregiver who forsake themselves because they don't know how to take care of the person properly, and they can get angry and even abusive. So,
Press, you
so
know,
yeah, so all of these things you have to be aware of. So there's so many dimensions to it, and I think that we need to educate ourselves. We need to understand that this is serious, right? And but as much as it's serious, there is rehabilitation, right? And timing is key, knowing exactly when to actually start rehabilitation and getting things back off the ground can potentially help your loved one live. They live a full life again. If rehabilitation is put in place from the time a stroke happens. I'm so glad that you guys could take the time out of your day. And Auntie Jen, thank you very much for coming on and sharing with us. Like you said, it's a tough conversation to have, and I appreciate that you could come and talk to us and let us know a little bit about why this was so important to you, why it would have been so important to your son. And Cece, of course, Cece is involved in everything that has to do with helping people. JP Sepu save Omun, right? So you are definitely you understand. I feel like the demography of Dominic and what is needed, not just to fix but also to fix. Right, you understand both of
for sure, for sure.
both of
There's
that.
one closing dimension I just wanted to mention, Jael, that
Go ahead.
we haven't considered because we're not a society of people who expresses a lot of emotion, but there's a psychological dimension that is goes silent and is never addressed. So you may have a stroke person at home. Imagine being 42 or 48 and having a stroke and feeling that your life is over. There's a psychological dimension that's just never taken care of because we're not into therapists. We're not in, everybody thinks the psychiatrist is the therapist, but it's not so. And
Mhm.
that side of it is really not usually addressed. But imagine the depression sometimes that 48-year-old goes through, that he's no longer able to support his family. He's lying on a bed, doesn't see that he has any chance of ever being able to work again, and
Mhm.
that his life is over. There's a psychological dimension that really, as well, that we're trying to highlight that needs to be addressed.
Yes, over the next couple of months, those of you who are viewing, We plan to bring this conversation more and more to the forefront. So we plan on engaging in conversations with therapists, it's conversations with doctors, conversations possibly with neurosurgeons, patients of stroke, caregivers, and to provide you with the information, first-hand knowledge, right, as to what you can do. And you don't have to do nothing. You can stay quiet. If you on the live, you can stay quiet. Nobody. You can watch incognito if you must. If you want to go on YouTube, because again, a lot of people experience shame. Even when they may say, man, I'm taking that medication, or I'm not doing this, or I'm not gonna do that, or may have even gotten they say, "Oh, a small stroke." Like I've heard people say, "That's small one." I'm like, a slight stroke. I was like, "Oh, what? I don't understand that. I don't understand this. For me, it just seems like it's a huge deal, and it's almost like we're normalizing it, and we shouldn't. There are ways that you can recognize when somebody's having a stroke. There are things to do. There are things to pay attention. I want to encourage you guys. If there are also folks viewing on the foundation page, the Facebook page, if you've not, you could follow the page. Even if you follow incognito, and you go and you check out the material that's on there. You can also follow on the website at rayastafoundation.org. You can drop a heart underneath this. Drop a heart to say that you are in support of this program, that you want to come back here. We want to know that you find the value in what is going on. Health is wealth, knowledge is power, and we want to ensure that you make the best decision for your life, for your home, for your family. So drop a heart underneath this program, and we hope that we can continue to share. And I welcome you guys back on anytime. Welcome the we're gonna continue this. This is gonna be something that's going to continue, and we want to ensure that everybody has the information, and there's nobody should go to the emergency not being equipped with the knowledge, or at least knowing to how to recognize that they may be having a stroke. All right. And I want to say thank you. I want to give you guys the floor to have your final words, but I want to say thank you for choosing the show, and thank you for really seeing the need to highlight the cause, and I really wish you guys all the best in this journey. Sissy, I'll let you do your final words, and we'll leave the final to Auntie Jan.
Well, Jael, I mean, I follow you, right? And you're hilarious. You're just absolutely hilarious. I think you have a good following, and your content is also quite mixed. You do a little humor, you do a little serious stuff, and you have some serious conversations. I mean, you did a documentary on the Kalinago people. So I'm honored that you've chosen us to take this journey. And I think that with you by our side, I think our impact will be bigger and greater. And I'm looking forward to partnering with you again and again and again, so that we can continue to create the awareness that we're trying to do. And I guess you're heading home soon, right?
Why you want to be in my business now? I'm home. Home is where the heart is. I'm home.
Yeah. So we'll do a little
Season.
live. We'll do a
Yes,
little live when you come at the Ray Astor Foundation.
yes,
Our
definitely,
headquarters. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Cece and Auntie Jen.
So thank you, Jael. What we want is to ensure that our reach is not limited in Dominica, that I know we do on social media, and and a lot of people may be on their phones across the island, but we have to look at a way in which we can reach, like I used to say, the little man in Paybush, or the man in up in the bush in Fischler or somewhere. We want to be
Go,
sure
go
that
then.
we
Go.
the entire population.
Tibo don't have bush. Don't try that. Don't try that, Cece. Tibo, please tell Cece Tibo don't have bush.
Girl Rose who have bush. What you talking about?
Tibo don't have bush. What are you
Not
talking about?
necessarily the bush, but I
Tibo is
always
big.
used to say that. What do you say to the man from Tibo who comes? But we want to be sure the reach is to all those who need to hear the message. And we
Yes.
think that our population is small and we can have an impact because of the size of the population. Can
Yes.
definitely make an impact.
Definitely.
So
I
thank
want
you.
to thank you very much to both of you for coming on. It was a wonderful program. Thank you very much to all those of you who tuned in and listened and viewed, and those of you who shared, and those of you who come back and view again, those of you who are listening right now and you're probably listening to the repeats. Thank you for tuning in. And we hope that we can continue to bring more content to you. And if you love this, drop a heart. We want to see those hearts. You can drop any color heart you want, but we prefer the red hearts. But drop a heart and let us know that you were connected. Thank you very much, Jillian, for your heart. Thank you very much. And I wish you guys all the best. Hope you guys have a safe week, both of you. And
Thank
we'll see you
you.
again soon.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
Thank
you.
you, Jo.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye. This back. Yes, guys, that was it for today's show. Thank you very much to we got lots of hearts. Thank you, Shara, for the hearts. I got 4 hearts from Shara. Um, Thank you very much, guys. All those of you who tuned in, I truly appreciate your support. And I know the Ray Asta Foundation also appreciates your support. We want to encourage you guys. We will be back. So next month we'll be back with another conversation. So I want to encourage you to stay tuned. You could follow the Ray Asta Foundation page that's on Facebook for more information, or you can just stay tuned here and we'll give you the information as it happens. I want to say thanks again to my two wonderful guests for joining me here today, for taking the time out and coming to share with us. And I also want to encourage you guys to stay tuned. Tomorrow we'll be back. We have Watto Wednesday. It's going to be tomorrow. We got 2 chefs stopping by, and we're gonna have a blast tomorrow for Watto Wednesday. So we talk all things food. Make sure your belly full before you come on the show. All right, make sure your belly full. Thanks again. Thanks, Sandra. And thanks for the heart. I appreciate it. We'll be back soon. Bye bye.